The 597th edition of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 325 times your entry with their new Pick 8. Sign up today with promo code MMA SGPN to claim your special pick in first-time deposit offer of up to $250 in bonus cash. That's UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code MMA SGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get the best data-driven props and picks from Rhythm. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
Of the MMA Gambling Podcast and the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. This episode goes out to whoever it was. I guess it was multiple people who used to ask us for lock dogs a few minutes before UFC events every week. This episode is for you because you're getting a lock dog in, well, we'll see. You're getting a lock dog in at least one sense of the word. Thanks for coming to, it's not really a word, the term. Thank you for coming to the show. I'm Jeff Chalks Fox, one of your hosts here, and we've got the UFC, not just the UFC, but a UFC pay-per-view going down this weekend. UFC 303. I can make a bunch of jokes about the return of Conor McGregor, but I'm not going to bother, all right, because everyone's doing those jokes, and most of us figured he wasn't going to fight anyhow. So, as we've mentioned in the past, at least for us nerds, we've got a better pay-per-view than we had originally with Conor. UFC can spread the money around a little bit more now that you don't have to pay Conor's big fees. So pay-per-view portion of the event we will cover tomorrow, along with our locks, dogs, props, parlays, all that fun stuff. Today is all about the prelims. We got a 4-fight main prelims and a 4-fight early prelims. Some interesting names, some interesting odds. Hopefully we have some interesting picks as well. Let's bring in the man with the squeaky chair himself, Daniel Gumby-Vreeland. Hello.
Yeah, hey, lock dog is one word, though. I do want to emphasize that. While it might be 2 words in the
nickname
American
is
language,
not, though.
Or the English language. I said American language. That's terrible. 1 word in the English language.
You betrayed what you Americans think about yourselves.
We're gonna take that one.
I bet. It's 1 word, fine, but the nickname is not, and the nickname's spelled wrong as well.
No, the nickname is 1 word. It's lock dog.
Oh, okay. All right, well, and it's spelled wrong too. So why not? Why not make it 1 word as well, right?
Right, exactly.
Right. So UFC 303. I guess we've kind of done enough preamble about it in the past. Thoughts on the prelims that we're going to be covering today? Any of the odds come out in your favor or move in your favor, or anything surprising to you?
No, the movement's been pretty minimal. I think especially on the prelims, you don't see that until a little bit closer to fight time.
Right.
And yeah, they're pretty much where I thought they were going to be. I'm not terribly surprised by any of the lines I saw.
On the main card, one of my underdogs has flipped to a favorite, which I'm not happy about, but whatever. Them's the breaks.
I think I can figure out who it is then.
Yeah. We could have, if we recorded a few days earlier, I could have had an extra dog, but it doesn't make a difference. So today is all about, as I said, all about the prelims, and it's UFC 303, of course, that we're talking about. Pereira versus Prochazka 2. Yes, now there are those names are McGregor nor Chandler, which is kind of humorous to me. June 29th is going down Saturday night, as per usual for UFC pay-per-views. 6 p.m. start time for the early prelims, and we'll have an 8 p.m. start time for the prelims proper. The main prelims are on ESPN. And then, of course, if you're in one of the lovely areas like we are in North America that expect you to pay for the pay-per-view, then you'll be paying for the pay-per-view at starting at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern. Before we jump into our picks, we got eight picks coming today for you. We'll see if we lock in on any of them. We got to tell you about the main podcast, the mothership, the Sports Gambling Podcast. Make sure you check them out. They've already started their top 10 fantasy football preview series. The quarterbacks and tight ends episodes are already live. It's never too early for the National Football League, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure you check them out on YouTube or the podcatcher of your choosing. All right, let's jump into this card. I think I've told you all you need to know about it. Oh, it's going down the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. Probably still be a fairly large Irish contingent because they have an up-and-coming Irish star on the pay-per-view portion, but not on this part. We're starting with a prelim fight between an American Ricky Simón and a Brazilian Vinicius Oliveira, aka Lockdog, Lokdog. Gumby says it's all one word. I will take Gumby's word for that as well. So Lockdog, let's tell you about him first. 20-3, 16 knockouts, 2 submissions. He's been knocked out 3 times, so all of his losses have come via knockout. 1-0 in the UFC. He's won 3 straight and 9 of 10. Those last 3 wins have all come via knockout or TKO. 1-0 Contender Series, was regional champion, 3 inches of height, an inch of reach over Simón, 3 years younger. Better striking stats, more active landing strikes than Simón is. Pretty small, like a 2-fight sample size, though, for Oliveira. He's outstruck those 2 opponents by 2.48 strikes per minute, so a very healthy number there. He's at plus 205 on the betting board. Simón is 20-5, 6 knockouts, 4 submissions. He's been knocked out twice, submitted once. 8-4 in the UFC. However, he's lost 2 straight fights. Before that, he had won 5 straight. Used to fight at featherweight and lightweight. Was the LFA champion, 1-0 on Contender Series. He debuted in Pro MMA back in 2014. He's been outstruck in the UFC by 0.6 strikes per minute, and the Contender Series as well included in that number. He's got better grappling stats than Oliveira. He's at minus 225. Surprising to see Ricky Simón in a curtain-jerking fight, but here he is.
Well, I mean, like, he is, like you said, on a 2-fight losing streak. And for me, there's totally a chance he comes in here and just absolutely grapples the hell out of Lockdog. But I'm going to take a swing on the Lockdog underdog here. I think for me, my concern here is with Ricky Simón's chin. Obviously, it's not that Song Yadong doesn't hit hard. But even if you want to go back to that KO loss to Uriah Faber, right? Like the first time he was flying up the ranks and everybody was high on Ricky Simón, right. He ran into that right hand of Uriah Faber, went, down real hard. And then, Song Yadong kind of followed suit with his teammate, Uriah Faber, all those years later, kept Ricky Simón from exacting his revenge. And not that both those guys don't hit hard, but it certainly begs the question, is Ricky Simón's best days behind him? I don't know necessarily for sure how I feel about that. He was recently out grappled by Mario Batista, which I don't expect Lockdog to do. But Lockdog does throw wild. He's got big hands. He doesn't settle into bottom positions. He gets right back up. I think he's the type of guy who, even if you don't love the money line here on him, I don't know, maybe you could sprinkle on the KO crop. It's probably worth your time. But also he's just going to fight for your money. This is going to be a plus 200 at the end of the day, where I think all of the value is on the dog, and that KO is always just a whisper away.
Let's make it a team ride on this one. This is a tough one to pick because, like you said, with the grappling, it could very easily see Ricky Simón just grappling his way to victory here. But if you're not taking the grappler, then I sure as hell am not going to take the grappler.
You love yourself a striker against the grappler.
I do. And and going against a guy whose chin, as you said, maybe starting to be eaten away against a wild man that will test that chin, then sure. Let's take a stab at Oliveira at plus 205. That could be a nice hit to kick things off for us on the evening. All right, we are moving down a weight class, flyweight. Carlos Hernandez, United States of America. Ray Tsuruya, Japan. And we'll tell you about Hernandez first. 9-3 with 4 submissions. He's been knocked out once, submitted once. 2-2 in the UFC. Loss over his last 3. He lost his last fight via TKO. 1-0 Contender Series, regional champion. Used to fight at featherweight. 2 inches taller than Tsuruya. More active landing strikes, and he has outstruck his UFC and the Contender Series opponents by 0.41 strikes per minute. He's at plus 370. Tsuruya 9-0, 4 knockouts, 4 submissions. This is his UFC debut. He won his last fight via TKO. That was for the championship of Road to UFC, where he went 3-0. Was regional champion, an inch of reach over Hernandez, 9 years younger. Better grappling stats than Hernandez. He outstruck his Contender Series opponents by 1.49 strikes per minute, minus 450. Tsuruya is one of the golden boys off the Road to UFC that we're very interested in seeing. I like him here. Don't know if I like him at minus 450 in his debut, but extremely well-rounded fighter, way younger than Hernandez, which matters especially at a lower weight class. And I think he can get the job done here. I think Hernandez is the right entry fight for a guy like Tsuruya. He's not going to out-grapple him, and Tsuruya should get the better of him on the feet. So give me the Japanese fighter.
Yeah, I think Tsuruya has got a big grappling advantage here too. I think, and when you look at the way that Carlos Hernandez has lost, 2 of the 3 fights that he's fought in the UFC, he lost that one to Alan Nascimento, got rear naked choked in that one, lost to Tsuruya Taira. And I was actually just saying to somebody right before we went to recording here that I kind of feel like Ray Tsuruya is sort of like a less polished version of Tetsuya Taira. I think like he has all of the makings of becoming Tetsuya Taira down the line. I mean, we saw the takedown on Jinyu Shiyu in the road to the UFC finals. Like the technique is clearly there. Like he's not muscling anything. He's just in finishing things by being pretty clean. I think he's got a little ways to go before he's that Tetsuya Taira top control in his submission skills and, a little bit on the feet too, as we've seen with Tetsuya Taira. He is certainly leveling things out with his striking, and it looks really good. I think Tsuruya has a little ways to go there, but I think like he has that game plan and in that path to beat Carlos Hernandez in the same way. You could see him, like you said, I think I could see him beating him on the feet, but also I think the grappling advantage here is going to be huge.
All righty. He's going to keep the 0 and go to 10-0, according to us. All right, we're going from the lowest weight class to the highest weight class in men's. For a heavyweight fight, Andrei Arlovski, Gumby's buddy, from Belarus, and he's up against Martin Buday. Where's Martin Buday from again? Because I have trouble with countries. I didn't even get a continent. I was 2 continents.
Slovakia.
Let me see what.
It's either Slovakia or yeah. Okay.
Yes. All right. Slovak Republic versus Belarus. We're going to tell you about the Pitbull, Andrei Arlovski. I saw him listed as Vampire as well. When was that ever his nickname?
I've never heard that.
Yeah, exactly. Stupid Wikipedia. All right. The Pitbull, Andrei Arlovski, 34-23 with 2 no contests, 17 knockouts, 3 submissions. He's been knocked out twice, submitted 3 times. 23-17 with 1 no contest in the UFC over 2 stints. He was the champion in the first go around in the UFC way back. His last 3 straight fights before that, he won 4 straight. He's not won since April 2022. 2-1 in World Series of Fighting. 0-3 in Strikeforce because Strikeforce never dies. 1999 pro MMA debut. Sambo champion. He's outstruck his UFC opponents by 0.58 strikes per minute. He's at plus 220. Baddies, Buday, 13-2, 6 knockouts, 3 submissions. He's been knocked out once. 4-1 in the UFC. He's won 12 of his last 13, but he did get TKO'd in his last fight. 1 no contender series, was the Octagon champion before this. Based on the last weigh-ins, he was 18 pounds heavier than Arlovski. He's an inch taller, 12 years younger. He's more active landing strikes. He's been outstruck in the UFC and the contender series by 0.53 strikes per minute, minus 230. Now, Gumby's going to tell you why. He's going to try to justify why he's taking on Arlovski.
I mean, first of all, what was the line you gave me on it?
Yeah, you're in the plus. You're going to pick another plus 200. He's at plus 220.
Yeah, so I am going to take plus 220 on Arlovski. And the real reason why here is what you mentioned with Martin Buday there at the end. Is you said Martin Buday has been outstruck by his UFC opponents. Now, that's not necessarily alarming at heavyweight on its own against Andrei Arlovski, but it's alarming when you consider his record, right? And it's alarming when you consider who he's fought. That's fighting Josh Parisian. That's fighting Lucas Brzeski. That's like fighting the lowest of the low tier in the UFC, right? With the exception of Shamil Gadziev, who he only lasted a round and a half with. But like Buday is getting outstruck by his UFC opponents because he plays that game, right? Like he plays the game where he's willing to sort of pitter patter and try to throw the bigger shots, but not necessarily more shots. And in a fight with Andrei Arlovski, you have to either be a phenomenal striker in terms of your accuracy and your ability to pressure, or you have to be there to grapple. And I don't think Buday is there to do either of them. I think he's there to throw one big bomb and maybe try to knock Arlovski out. And I don't know that he's going to get his hands on Arlovski, right? Like, because in order to get your hands on Arlovski, you have to be able to overcommit to everything you're doing, right? Because he's backing away of any firefight. He doesn't get in firefights at this day and age. He used to in his old days, but he doesn't anymore. I don't know that he's going to give Buday an option. I think he can stuff enough of Buday's takedowns if he does decide to go that way. He can get himself off the cage if he gets stuck there. And I think he's going to land more punches is the bottom line. I think ultimately he wins something that looks like an ugly-ass split decision, but like it's by just being the more active striker.
I hear you, but I'm still taking Buday. I can't put I can't put faith in Arlovski at this point. I think Buday will do enough to win this fight. He very easily could knock him out if he puts his pedal to the metal. So we'll see. This could be a referendum on Baddy's Buday. If we'll see if he can pass this or not.
By the way, the only person you said you have a lot of faith that he could knock somebody out. First of all,
no, I don't have a lot of faith.
He's over 5 in getting after knocking people out in the UFC so far. Yep. The last person he knocked out was Lorenzo Hood, a light heavyweight on short notice going up weight class on Contender Series. That's the last guy he knocked out.
Yeah, he wasn't fighting 45-year-olds though, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm definitely not predicting a knockout because, as you said, he hasn't knocked out anyone for a long time, and Arlovski when he gets knocked out by Kings of Kong at this point. So, all right, before we move on. Before Gumby grabs another dog, let's tell you about Underdog Fantasy. Pick 8 is now live. You can create entries with up to 8 picks, and Underdog will automatically double flex entries so you can miss up to 2 picks and still win your entry. With more picks to make and extra ways to win, the excitement is higher than ever. The best part, you can win up to 325 times your original amount. You can now use specials and boosts on all flexed entries. Do you have any plays for us coming up, Gumby?
I mean, you should get
the WNBA, any of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you should get this before the baseball games kick off here on Wednesday. And if you do so, I'm going to take the lower than on Simeon Woods Richardson's hits allowed, listed at 5.0 right now. He's stayed lower than that number in 7 of his last 8 starts. So I think he has a pretty good job of doing that again. And the Diamondbacks are a little cold with the bats lately, too. So give him a chance to stay lower than that number.
There you go. Don't miss your chance to make that play and to play Pick 8. Try it out before it's gone. Plus, if you're already a user, deposit between now and UFC 303, which is this Saturday, and you get 10% bonus cash. I actually have to do a Underdog UFC video. I think I might do that when we're done here, Gumby, because they have a special deal going on with Alex Pereira also, right?
That's right. Yeah, you can get the special pick that was mentioned in the ad copy right there is Alex Pereira higher than 0.5 significant strikes. You have to imagine he's going to land something.
Yeah, you'd hope so. So sign up with our code MMASGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code MMASGPN. Okay, let's get back to the picks. This is our last play of the early prelims. Michelle Waterson-Gomez, yes, she's still in the UFC, versus Gillian Robertson, the Canadian, kind of. This is that women's strawweight. We'll tell you about Waterson-Gomez first. The Karate Hottie. If that wasn't her nickname, good chance she wouldn't still be in the UFC. Just saying. She's 18-12. 3 knockouts, 9 submissions. She's been knocked out twice, submitted 4 times. 6-8 in the UFC. She's lost 4 straight fights. She's won 1 of her last 7. Got TKO'd in her last fight. Is not won since September of 2020. Used to fight at flyweight, surprisingly, shockingly, and atomweight. That's basically the weight class she should have been fighting at all along if the UFC had it. Because she was the Invicta atomweight champion. She went 3-1 in Invicta during that time. 1-0 Strikeforce, 2 Strikeforce fighters on the early prelims. Go figure. Strikeforce never die. 2007 pro MMA debut. More active landing strikes than Robertson. She has been outstruck in the UFC by 0.63 strikes per minute, plus 155. The Savage, Gillian Robertson, 13-8, 2 knockouts, 9 submissions. She's been knocked out once, submitted once. Durable fighter. 10-6 in the UFC, 3-1 of her last 4, including winning her last fight via TKO. Used to fight at flyweight, 0-1 on the Ultimate Fighter. Has missed weight before at strawweight, so keep that in mind. Fighters that miss weight only win. Let's check the stats. 42% of the time. This year, they're at 54%. So they're doing a little better, much better actually this year. Smaller sample size though. 2 inches of height, an inch of reach over Waterson-Gomez. 9 years younger than her. Better striking stats, better grappling stats. However, Robertson has been outstruck in the UFC by 0.51 strikes per minute. She's at minus 180. I'm obviously taking Robertson here. I'm not going to pick Waterson-Gomez in any fight. And we're getting actually a pretty good line for a Michelle Waterson fight here. Yeah, Robertson can probably beat her everywhere. Robertson's striking still isn't that great, but probably won't have to use it. She should be able to get Waterson-Gomez down and grind out a win on the mat. So Robertson's the pick.
Yeah, I disagree with you that she could probably beat her on the feet. I don't think she could beat her on the feet at all. Like,
no, I took it back.
Yeah, I think that's probably why we're getting the line where it is too. At first I was like, man, what a sensational line on Gillian Robertson. And then just like for a split second, my brain went, but what if she doesn't get the takedown? And like that panicked me a little bit. And I think that's why you see a little bit less confidence in the market on Gillian Robertson. But the bottom line is I do think she'll get the takedown. And more importantly, I think if this fight hits the mat, Michelle Waterson is kind of somebody who has so much faith in her grappling skills that she sort of just engages in that fight for as long as she needs to, or as long as somebody will engage her back. And the problem is Gillian Robertson will engage her in that kind of fight. She will have the dominant positions in those types of fights. And that will just lead to Waterson-Gomez sort of having to chase more, right? Because if she does that for a round or even more than a round, Waterson-Gomez is then going to need that submission. It's just going to, like, you know, her bad decisions are going to breed more bad decisions in this fight. And it's all good news for Gillian Robertson. So again, I think because she'll engage in the grappling, I think this is a good fight for Gillian Robertson. I will say, you know, I was pumped to see the line as low as it is, but it also does kind of make perfect sense, because if she doesn't get this takedown, this could be the first win in some time. Also, just for the record, what'd you say? She lost 7 of her last 8.
Yeah, no, 6 of 7, and she beat someone bad. I think.
No, she beat. I'm using air quotes for those of you who are not watching YouTube. By the way, watch our YouTube. She beat Angela Hill, or at least she got the decision in doing so. I mean, it was a close fight, but I definitely scored it for Angela Hill. If you go on MMA decisions, the Sure Dog guys all have Michelle Waterson-Gomez, so you know who won the fight.
Yeah, that's all you need to know there. Yeah, hopefully Robertson. I take back about the striking. Yeah, she still does not look good in the feet. I was thinking it was improving, but not really.
I mean, it's improving. Like let's give her that. It's just like, it's not where it should be at this stage in her career.
No, she's 21 fights in her career, so you got to think this is, you know, it's not going to improve leaps and bounds at this point. So you think whether Dean Thomas is teaching her or not. So yeah, we still hopefully are going to get the win here, and she gets Waterson-Gomez. As you said, Waterson-Gomez is willing to play the grappling game, which is going to get her in trouble here. So hopefully. So Robertson is our pick, as is, you know, I forgot to tell you, I should have told you this the first go around. I'm going to tell you now, Circa Survivor and Circa Millions. I totally forgot that, and it's very important. Circa Sports is back with Circa Survivor and Circa Millions, giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes. Of course, Circa contests have no rake. Circa Millions, how that works, you pick 5 NFL teams against the spread each week and compete for $6 million, or you survive the NFL gauntlet to claim the $10 million prize. Sign up in person at Circa Sports between now and September 7th and use a proxy to play from anywhere. We even have a deal with footballcontestproxy.com to save you $50 with promo code SGP. Don't have a trip booked for Las Vegas yet? Before Football Ultimate Contest Weekend is a great time to go out, hang with Ryan and Sean, and enjoy some of the open bar events at the greatest sportsbook in the world, August 22nd through the 24th. And I need to tell you about Rhythm. If you're betting on player props, then you need to download Rhythm. Rhythm is the go-to sports betting tool that transforms complex data into actionable insights, empowering bettors with smarter, data-driven decisions. Like other platforms, Rhythm combines advanced predictive analytics with intuitive user experience, making betting both easy and enjoyable. Rhythm's predictive models were born from the brains of MIT data scientists and quants with over 3 years of data that help drive you to better AI-backed betting decisions. Rhythm projections have been red hot for WNBA and golf. So it's not the off season for everyone. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpockets.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpockets.com/ important part here, RITHMM. All right, on to the main prelims, the 8 p.m. ones that are on ESPN. We have Payton Talbott against Yanis Ghemmouri, U.S. versus France. This is at bantamweight. We'll tell you about Ghemmouri first. Ghemmouri first, the Desert Warrior. They call me the Desert Warrior. He's the Desert Warrior, Gumby.
Hey.
There's a difference. He is 12-2. You wouldn't guess that by the line I'm going to tell you, but he is 12-2. 3 knockouts, 4 submissions. He's been knocked out once, submitted once, so he's been finished in all his losses. 0-1 in the UFC. He's won 9 of his last 10, including he got KO'd in his last fight. He used to fight at featherweight, multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. Get sticky with it. Coach Leach is making sure no one's getting sticky in the Discord nowadays. Coach Leach bought a 2014 pro MMA debut for Ghemmouri. He's been outstruck in his one UFC fight, but almost 2 strikes a minute. He was at minus 1.95, plus 950. Talbott, 8-0. Yeah, I was surprised by this number, to tell you the truth. I was thinking, yeah, Talbot's probably going to be the favorite here, but I didn't see this coming. Talbott, 8-0. He doesn't have a nickname. Galaxy Brain could be one of the nicknames. Or Chess Portal could be his nickname as well. He's 8-0. That's a pretty good one, actually. 8-0, 6 knockouts, black hole, chest black hole. 8-0 with 6 knockouts, 1 submission. He's 2-0 in the UFC, 1-0 in Contender Series, 2 straight wins to come via finish. Was a regional champion, an inch height, an inch reach over Ghemmouri, 3 years younger than him, better striking stats, better grappling stats, and 3 times more active landing strikes, but Ghemmouri's got a very small sample size. Talbott has struck his opponents by 4.57 strikes per minute. That is very impressive over 3 fights. Minus 1587. The number actually has gone down a little bit. It was at minus 1600 when I saw it first. 1587.
I saw it on Bet Online at 1800.
Yeah. Wow. Just did you see that? Did you see this coming?
I thought he was going to be like.
I didn't see that.
I was looking for like a 750 or an 800 here. I was looking for like a PFL looking line. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wasn't
not that bad.
I wasn't expecting like Bellator prelims looking line.
For
a D1 wrestler, because that's pretty much what this looks like. And Ghemmouri's not that bad, but like, I mean, at the end of the day here, there's no good path for Ghemmouri here. He's not as good of a striker as Talbott. He got pieced up by William Gomi in his last fight. You know, Talbott's a better, rangier striker than maybe Gomi is. He got hurt with a body kick. Not that that's one of those things that we worry about compounding, but like Talbott throws plenty of those and is really accurate with everything he throws. So like, yeah, I just imagine Payton Talbott just gonna piece him up. This is clearly a setup fight that they're trying to get Payton Talbott a couple more wins before they step him up in competition. So I'm gonna pick Talbott. I mean, I wouldn't touch that line, but like, that's my this is my pick to win at least.
Would you obviously we would have preferred Talbot to get better competition than this, right? At least a little better. Like you want to give him, incremental steps up in competition before. I don't know
who else has he fought. Let me quickly pull up his Tapology because let me see who he's fought so far. So he's fought Nick Aguiar, Reyes Cortez, Cameron Simon.
Your favorite?
Yeah, I mean, like that's a pretty bad group. I mean, I know people are higher on Cameron Simon. I'm going to take this opportunity to give him a stray bullet. That's a pretty low level of competition. I think, I would probably prefer a step up from Ghemmouri. If he took out Cameron Simon, I think he could probably do a little better. I think they're probably a little worried about his wrestling defense, so they want to give him somebody to showcase. Also, pay-per-views like this tend to be where Dana White tries to stick a guy like Payton Talbott on there to get a big KO. Because then it goes viral. It's on a big card, tons of people there, huge for his fan base, big for star making. So I think it's probably a little bit that. And I guess to your point, if he knocked out Cameron Simon, we probably could have done a little better than this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny that they maybe it works, but they think like if you have exciting fights on the free portion, people are going to pay for the pay-per-view. It's not like one exciting fight leads to another, really. It's kind of random whether a fight's good or not. It's something, the energy gets picked up and stuff, but
I'm with you on that in terms of my own viewing experience. Like I don't watch a fight and I said, wow, that last one was great. This one must be great too, because we have like that insight. But also remember, that's not the person they need to convince. They don't need to convince me and you to watch the main card. Like, we're going to watch the main card. It's part of not only our job, but like what we do on a daily basis. So like, we're going to watch it. They need to convince some like schlub who just turned it on to be like, oh man, this stuff must be for real. And I think Payton Talbott's the right kind of advertisement for that.
Yep, very true. It's the common or the casual sports fan that they're trying to get. All right. We're going to featherweights now. Charles Jourdain from the Canada. I said United States almost. No, he's from Canada. Not my neck of the woods, but Canada nonetheless. Gillian Silva, not my neck of the woods. He's from Brazil, as it says, it's a featherweight, 3 5-minute rounds. We talk about Lord Assassin first. That, of course, would be Gillian Silva, one of the Lord Assassin of the fighting nerds. He's 12-2, 9 knockouts, 2 submissions. He's never been finished in a fight. 1-0 in the UFC, 1-0 in Contender Series. He's won 9 straight fights. He won via TKO in his last fight. He's not lost since April of 2018. Used to fight at bantamweight. He's outstruck his UFC and Contender Series opponents by 1.56 strikes per minute. He's a year younger than Jourdain, better striking stats, better grappling stats, and more active line strikes than the Canadian. And he's at plus 105. Jourdain, 15-7-1, 8 knockouts, 5 submissions. He's been submitted 1 time. Hard man to finish here. 6-6-1 in the UFC, 2-1 over his last 3, 2-3 over his last 5. Lost his last fight. He's got multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. Get sticky. Used to fight at lightweight, 2 inches taller than Silva. He's outstruck his UFC points by 1.25 strikes per minute, minus 114. It's a tough one. I'm going to go with the dog. I'm going to go with Gillian Silva. I'm worried that this may be too big of a step up for him because Jourdain is tough. He's impossible to finish. And has fought some pretty good fighters, but at the end of the day, I guess he is just an average UFC fighter at this point. So a little concerned about the step up, but Silva's passed every test that's been put in front of him over the past 6 years. So and obviously you got to like the fighting nerds camp and what we're seeing out of the fighters there, they all seem to be improving pretty at a pretty steady pace here. So give me the dog here, this small dog in Lord Assassin.
I almost talked myself out of Gillian Silva with exactly what you said, with the big step up in competition, going from fighting Weston Wilson, who, did pick up a win, but largely by submission, doesn't really have a lot of skills on the feet. And I was like, man, who is Gillian Silva fought that is going to make me feel good about his striking in a fight with Charles Jourdain? But then I remembered his fight on Contender Series was against Kevin Gallegos. Kevin Gallegos is not Charles Jourdain. That's still a big step up in competition that we're talking about. But in terms of what he's doing on the feet, I think this gives us a lot more faith that Gillian Silva is going to get it done. Because, if you watch Gallegos on the feet, first of all, that guy has beaten UFC fighters before, right? He beat Eduardo Garagori, TKO'd him. Gallegos is a really good opponent. And he's also notoriously hard to put away. He takes a shot really well, like Jourdain does. But Silva just put some kind of pace on him that he just couldn't keep up with. And the thing I love the most about Gillian Silva is, yes, he hits with power, but he's really freaking accurate, too, with what he's piecing people up with. And I think you sort of need that against Charles Jourdain. So I think between bringing that pace, kind of putting Jourdain through, the ringer, putting him through a striker who can do similar things to him, I think it's going to mess up Jourdain. And now, granted, Jourdain, he can grapple a little bit. He's a crafty guy. Like you said, he's hard to put away. But ultimately, I think that pace and that accuracy for Gillian Silva is going to take over. So give me Silva. And maybe we talk about a prop a little bit later on down the line.
All right. Come back tomorrow for that. Gumby is doing a good job leading you right into our next episode tomorrow. All right, this stick with featherweights. The interesting fight between a couple of veterans here. Cub Swanson, Andrei, Fili. Somehow they have not fought each other ever. They're going to now. All right, tell you about Swanson. Killer Cub Swanson, 29-13, 13 knockouts, 4 submissions. He's been knocked out 3 times, submitted 7 times. 14-9 in the UFC. Lost win over his last 4. Used to fight at bantamweight, 5-3 in WEC. WEC never dies. So we have 2 Strikeforce fighters, veterans, and a WEC veteran on this episode. You got to love it. 2004 pro MMA debut. Better striking stats and more active landing strikes than Fili. He's outstruck his UFC opponents by 0.86 strikes per minute, plus 210. No respect for the veteran. Touchy Fili, 23-11 with 1 no contest, 10 knockouts, 3 submissions. He's been knocked out 4 times, submitted twice. 11-10 with 1 no contest in the UFC. Loss over his last 5, got knocked out in his last fight. 2009 pro MMA debut, 3 inches height, 4 inches of reach over Swanson, 7 years younger. He's been outstruck by 0.26 strikes per minute in the UFC, minus 245. Which vet do you like, Gumby?
So I'll be honest, when I first saw this fight, I was like, oh, that seems kind of like Fili's, right? And the more and more I looked back, and I know Cub Swanson has had one foot out the door, and it's usually my play that you just stay away from guys who talk about retiring, Cub Swanson actually retired once, didn't he? But like,
maybe. I don't keep track of these things.
I think he retired once. But the bottom line is like, what recent result out of Andrei Fili makes you feel like he could beat somebody like Cub Swanson? I'm gonna go down the list here for you about his recent fights. He got knocked out by Danny Gay. He beat Lucas Almeida, not to be confused with Lucas Alexander.
Who would ever do that though?
I don't know. Silly. He got beat by Nathaniel Wood by decision, largely by Wood getting busy on the feet. He took a split decision over Bill Algeo, and he got knocked out by Joe Anderson Brito. And like, what in that run of 5 fights for me makes him think he would beat Cub Swanson? And meanwhile, Cub Swanson's out there outstriking the hell out of Hakeem Dawood, right? Like, and I love Mean Hakeem. I was all over him in that fight. I thought for sure he would just piece up Cub Swanson. Cub Swanson's not that beat up at this point in time. And don't get me wrong, that record is ridiculously old, but like, he's still so tough when it comes to the striking. I think the only way Fili wins this is by grappling for 15 minutes. And, maybe he finds a sub. As you mentioned, Swanson's been submitted 7 times in his career, but like, does this seem like a Andrei Fili sub spot to you? Because it doesn't for me.
No, I'm taking Cub Swanson, Gumby.
Hell yeah.
You don't have to try to talk. You don't have to try to talk me into it. Yeah, he's just, if you want to boil it right down to, he's looked better than Fili has over
a lot better. Like, not a little
number of fights, 5 fights or however far back you want to go. He hasn't shown that he's got to be slowing down. He's got to be getting beat up at this point, but he's not really shown too much of a slippage in his skills whatsoever, and he's going to be better on the feet, and he's got the one touch knockout power, which got to be concerned about. Fili may be 7 years younger, but Fili is not a young guy, and he's been around for a long time as well, and he's been knocked out 4 times already in his career, including his last fight. So yeah, you might see a prop coming for this one too in the future. There you go. I can hint too. But yeah, killer Cub Swanson. I'll take another plus 200. This is plus 210. So I have 2 over plus 200s. You have 3 over plus 200s. This is going to be a very profitable Saturday night, Gumby.
I hope so.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the main event of the prelims. Another French Canadian in this one. That would not be Joe Pyfer. He's from the United States of America. It would be Marc-Andre Barriault. He is from Quebec. All right, let's tell you about Power Bar first. Barriault, 16-7 with 1 no contest, 10 knockouts, 1 submission. He's been knocked out once, submitted once. If you want to hear Gumby and I discuss Power Bars and surge protectors and all that stuff, you have to go back in the archives. It's there.
I couldn't believe that that's what you call a surge protector up there.
Yes, you could go and check. Probably it obviously was another time when Barriault fought. Probably the title has something in it as well, hinting that that's what we discussed. So yeah. All right, back to this fight though. Barriault is 5-6 with 1 no contest in the UFC. He's won 2 of his last 3 of his last 6. Did lose his last fight. He has multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get shirt. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. Yes, they do have mantles in Quebec, I assume. Have I ever seen a mantle in Quebec? I probably have, right? At a restaurant or something, more than likely I've seen a mantle. So I'm sure they have a mantle. And what do they call mantles in French? They call it mantle. So there you go. Used to fight at 205, light heavyweight. Failed a drug test in the past for real drugs, as I like to say. A 2014 Pro MMA debut, better striking stats than Pyfer, more active landing strikes than Pyfer. He's been outstruck in the UFC by 0.52 strikes per minute, plus 240. Body Bags with the Z is his nickname. Really, it's B-like is the nickname. He's 12-3, 8 knockouts, 3 submissions, knocked out once, submitted once. 3-1 in the UFC, 5-1 over his last 6. He did lose his last fight in his first headlining bout. 1-1 on Contender Series. Multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. An inch height, an inch reach over Barriault. 6 years younger. better grappling stats. He's been he has outstruck his opponents in the Contender Series and in the UFC by 0.08 strikes per minute. So pretty much a wash there, minus 290. I'm going to pick against another Canadian here. Give me Pyfer here. Gumby's been calling it a bounce back spot for him. Barriault's a tough bounce back guy, especially, winning 2 of his last 3. Very tough guy on the feet. But despite the stats and stuff saying that he's a better striker than Pyfer, I think I have more faith in Pyfer being able to catch him on the feet, and definitely more faith in Pyfer on the ground, which is probably where this fight's going to end up and going to end. So give me a Be Like Joe.
Yeah, I'm actually, I really think that the most likely outcome here is that Joe Pyfer takes us to the ground. He's got a really great wrestling game. He comes from a wrestling background, and he's just sort of never used it because he's never needed to. And I think that fight, you mentioned the main event. Like, I think it was a big wake up call for him. He can be outpointed by like crafty guys who avoid his big bomb. I think we're going to see him go back to, Daniel Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. I think we're going to see him go back to Marquez MMA and say, I got to go back to doing what I do best. I can't just because I knocked out, Ozzy Diaz on Contender Series doesn't mean I'm a boxer now. I got to do a little bit more of the stuff that works for me. I think you see him go back to that here. Now, that doesn't mean I'm looking for sub props, because at the end of the day, this dude's got some pretty brutal ground and pound too. But like, I think we see a Joe Pyfer fight a little bit more to his absolute best skills. But even if he doesn't, to your point, I think he's got all the skills to beat him on the feet.
Yeah. Is he going to yell Jiu-Jitsu after he wins?
Who did that? Did Joe Pyfer do that?
No, someone did that, didn't they? I'm trying to think who did it back in the day, but yeah. I think, didn't Vitor Belfort always yell? I think he always used to yell about jiu-jitsu, even though he never uses jiu-jitsu. I think it might have been him. But anyhow, Pyfer inside the distance, perhaps here, Gumby. Is that what you're hinting
I
at,
do.
maybe?
I do like that. I like his inside the distance. I like his KO prop. Like his KO prop, I just saw at 200. Inside the distance 135. I don't know if you want that extra 65 there to avoid the submission. I mean, maybe the arm triangle's there. I don't know. How many times has Barriault been subbed?
Once. One knockout, one sub. So he is a tough guy to finish. That's 25.
Yeah, I still think he's going to get finished. But which way we'll maybe have to talk about it on tomorrow's episode.
Yep, there you go. Oh boy, people can't wait till tomorrow now. They're gonna have a hard time sleeping tonight. All right, let's recap, and we'll get out of here. We got Pyfer, we got Swanson, we got Silva, we got Talbott. We've got Robertson. He has Arlovski. I have Buday. He have Tsuruya. We have Oliveira. So Lock Dog, aka Lock Dog. So it would have been a team ride if Gumby wasn't obligated to take Andrei Arlovski. So
I got the picture. He's staring at you.
Yeah, you have no choice. No choice whatsoever. All right. You can stare at us. Well, not really. You can stare at our little avatars and our names in the Discord. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. Get in there. There's been a lot of talk about this event coming up. Maybe I'll discuss it more on tomorrow's episode, but check out the Discord. Twitter is SGPN MMA. Gumby runs that for us. He's at Gumby Vreeland. I'm a Jeff Fox writer there, and on Instagram. Get in my Substack. Subscribe if you like what you see. $30 a year will unlock everything for you. If you don't like what you see, a free subscription will at least get you a weekly entry into my free UFC Pick'em contest where you can win real prizes. So one is up and running for UFC 303. So get in, check that out at moneymma.substack.com. Gumby's got a very good episode. All of them are good, but this one is especially good, of Top Turtle MMA podcast. Very good interviews this week. Tell the people who they are.
We're talking to two guys who are coming up on Contender Series. We got Andreas Berg Gustafsson and Cortavius Romeus.
Not Adelaide Bird. Maybe she's next.
Adelaide Bird? Why?
Because the name kind of sounds like Bird.
Oh, Andreas Berg Gustafsson. Yeah. Oh, I was like, where the hell did you pull that from? Let me tell you who I don't want to talk to. I don't have any of the time to talk to her.
But yeah, very good interviews. Both very entertaining interviews for different ways. But yeah, especially the Roman Emperor. He's been on before, right? Has he not? Yeah,
Cortavius Romeus was on before week 10 last year.
Yeah, Fun guy. So make sure you listen to that and get yourself ready for I was gonna say next month's, but almost next month's Dana White Contender Series. YouTube. Thanks everyone who has subscribed already. We still need some more subscribers. If you want to hear us stop asking for subscribers, then make sure you subscribe with all your accounts. Once we hit 1,000 subscribers, we'll probably shut up about it. So that's MMA Gambling Podcast. Get all your friends and neighbors and spouses, and if you have multiple spouses, get them all to subscribe. And of course, we're at sportsgamblingpodcast.com. That's where all our writing can be found and all links to all our different podcasts and our giveaways, our contests, our discount codes, all that can be found there. Sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. Back tomorrow. Be Vampire, Gumby Vreeland, the Karate Hottie, Jeff Fox. We'll talk to you then.